Destiny?
I feel like women love more. I think on average, I think women are more emotionally mature. And I think that love outside of like the fairy tale bullshit requires a lot of actual like emotional upkeep, a lot of emotional labor. I think a lot of guys can't put that in. I don't think feeling possessive or jealous is love. Just because you get like really ass mad if your woman does something, or if you get like really jealous or possessive of a woman, doesn't mean you love her more. So I think women in general are willing to put more emotional work in relationships. So I'd say they love more.
Would you also say, to add to the argument here, that women break up with men more than men break up with women? What do you think?
Break up with? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, this is why I like having Destiny on. I disagree with Destiny. I think men love far more than women do, and I think men are closer to loving idealistically because men love women under far less conditions than women love men.
That sounds like the opposite of love to me.
Well,
if you love under far less conditions, that sounds like desperation. I don't want somebody that loves me for like one or two reasons or whatever, right? I want them to be a lot of reasons why they love me.
But what I'm saying is that for a man to love a woman, she does not have to jump through as many hoops and meet as many requirements as for a woman needs to love a man. So in other words, the guy's got to reach a certain level to even be acknowledged by the woman. However, that woman, she could be mediocre and still get garner the love from a man who is superior to her in every way, which, you know, from a biological standpoint, that makes sense because men date down and women date up.
So we make the question genderless. Who loves more? Somebody with high standards or low standards? All else equal. Because that's what you're essentially saying. I would say the person with high standards loves more because you're being more selective of your partner. So of course you're going to love that partner more.
But it's 100% contingent upon the other party's ability to provide and perform, is my point. Like a woman doesn't have a burden of performance to garner love from her man.
I mean, if you're telling guys to like look for a woman that's just young and can cook, then of course there's no burden of performance.
Yeah.
But again, like how much of love is that? Like, I love you so much. Like, why? Because I can cook and I'm young. Like, you can find a million girls that can cook and you're young. If you can get two reasons for it, then like, yeah,
that is true. But what I'm saying is that if you take a majority of men versus a majority of women, a majority of men would like a majority of women. However, a majority of women definitely don't like a majority of men.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think women love more. Because when they pick somebody, they're selective about it. They put more time and energy into it, for sure. Whereas for a guy, the woman is a lot more replaceable. That's why even Sneeko over here was like, oh, you know, you might step out and fuck another bitch or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, how much do you actually love your woman? You're willing to do something like that? Like,
that has nothing to do with how much you love the person.
It absolutely does.
Why?
Because it requires you to step out of your own selfish frame of reference to see how your partner feels about something. If you only prioritize the things that you want in life, that says something about how you view love of another person.
It's not really prioritizing, it's just doing what you want to do.
Yeah, that's called being selfish. It's usually what you do when you don't love somebody.
So they can get what they want, but we can get what we want as well?
Depends on what you want. If you're dating a cannibal and they want to eat you, it's not like both of you have fair asks, right?
But what we ask for is so small, though, compared to what they ask for.
To fuck other women, to be disloyal, to maybe knock another woman up, to maybe step out of your girl and just start dating other. How is that a small ask?
Not only that, bringing something back home.
Yeah, what
like
STDs you got? Imagine you come home and you like, oh shit, I got another girl pregnant. Like you're in a whole fucking world of agony there.
Yeah.
See, the thing here is that, and the reason why I disagree, and I get I see where you're going with this, saying that women have far more requirements, therefore they love harder because those requirements are harder to find. What I'm saying is that by having more requirements, that makes it where their love is 100% contingent upon that man's performance. So it's fleeting because if that guy loses, right, what he had, that woman will leave. So, and I've always said it that, you know, shout out to Rolo, I agree with him on this. Women love opportunistically, while men tend to love idealistically.
I think one, you already said that. You said, go for it. Go ahead.
I think the fact that they love opportunistically proves there in itself that they don't love as hard as men do. They don't love idealistically. They love based on, I need this guy to perform something for me, then I can love him. Whereas a man is like, okay, these are my requirements. You're attractive. You can cook, just like we discussed before. That's good enough for me. And that guy will fall in love with her. Versus for her, it's like, you need to perform.
Sure. So for your question, you gave a good qualifier that now it seems like you're abandoning, which is you don't believe in unconditional love. Nobody loves unconditionally.
Yeah, there's always a condition.
Nobody. Okay, so if you're talking about like a man with very few requirements, and you're going to say like, well, if you're not meeting the performance like a man to a woman, then she's going to leave you. Well, that probably is the same thing is true for the man as well, right? Really. So you think the average man would stay with a woman if she got like battery acid attacked and lost both legs or something? There's not a condition.
Now you're good, making it the extreme.
Okay, so what would happen? So then what would happen? So then what would happen to a woman that you wouldn't be with her anymore? I guess if your standards are really low, then maybe you wouldn't care. But again, this isn't a man versus woman thing. This is high standards versus low standards. If your only standards are I need you to cook and I guess not cheat on me, then sure. I mean, you can find a lot of people that'll fit the bill.
And that's
but then
my
again,
point.
like if I and my partner are side by side and we're asked to describe why do we love each other, and I say, okay, I really love my partner because she cooks really well and she's never fucked another guy while we're dating. And it's like, okay. And then she says, oh, well, I love him because of this and that and that and that and that.
Yeah.
Well, who loves each other more? That just seems like a weird It just seems like a weird thing to me. It's like, oh, well, I like her because of these two things that I can find in literally every other woman on the planet.
Remember the question I said, who is closer to unconditional love?
Oh, right? I didn't hear that. I thought you said who loves more.
Yeah.
Who's
so
closer to unconditional love?
Because I said first, okay, unconditional love isn't realistic.
Okay,
However,
well, in that case, then the unconditional love is going to be the one with the lower standard. So if you're a low standard guy, then sure, it's easier for you to love.
It's a guy.
Okay.
And I mean, I see that you switched the point a little bit, saying no, like, you know, women love more because they have more standards. But my thing is, who's closer to unconditional love? And I would argue it's the men, because we have far less conditions than women do.
Sure. Well, in that case, the closest to unconditional love would be people with like Down syndrome or something, right? You see somebody, you smile. You know, if that's the ideal, you want to act like a retard. I mean, like, oh yeah, I mean, these are the people that as long as you feed them, like they'll love you. You know,
find the one.
But let's be honest here. A lot of guys are retards when it comes to selecting women.
I agree.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
You know, I would argue that women are far more selective than men and more intelligent when it comes to the mate selection process, versus men are, quite frankly, a lot of the time stupid. They'll be with a girl that is using them, abusing them, treating them like shit, maybe yelling at them and telling them they're a loser, right? It's like someone here on the panel. Like, guys will tolerate a lot more in a relationship than a woman will with a guy. That's what I've noticed. But